So I've previously done a video on preparing your dog for a new baby, but I wanted to do a new one that goes into things in a little bit more detail and covers some of the phases. So preparing your dog for a baby is kind of an ongoing process, because as your baby grows, they change and you have to prepare your dog for different things. So looking at the statistics, most of the dogs that go into kennels go in because there's an issue between the baby and the dog in the home, or the parent can't cope with dog and baby, which is probably due to a lot of behaviour issues towards the baby. And by the time children are 12, over half of them will have been bitten by a dog, and the majority of those bites will be from a dog they know, and most likely the dog in the home. So that's pretty huge. It's definitely a subject worth revisiting again and again, I think, and to build a really good, safe relationship, you do need to put the time and the effort in, but the results will be so worth it, I promise. This might be a little bit of a long one, but I'll try and keep it as simple as possible. But you might want to grab yourself a tea or a coffee. So the first thing you need to do is you need to familiarise yourself with canine enrichment. If you don't know what I'm talking about, get on Facebook. There's some great groups on there, and get Googling, and you'll find loads and loads of ideas. It's endless. So what do I mean by that? I mean your high value chews that last a long time. There's interactive brain games. There's stuff that you can make out of boxes and screwed up paper. You've got licky mats, you've got snuffle mats, you've got treat mats, and lots of other ideas, Kongs, things you can put in the freezer to make them last longer, so many. And what you need to do is you need to find out which ones work for your dog. So some of them are probably going to make your dog get a bit frustrated. You might see their arousal levels come up. Some of them are going to make your dog calm down and chill out, and those are the ones that you want. And you're going to start introducing low exercise days. So you're pregnant, you're going to start to slow down, you're going to start to not want to go out on certain days, and that's definitely going to happen when the baby comes. You might have some days where you get up and you go for a walk with your dog and you're doing great and it's perfect. But there's going to be other days where you just can't do that. It's not going to happen. So you're going to prepare your dog for those days so you don't have to worry about them. You just worry about yourself and your baby. And that's going to be your enrichment day. So find out what your dog loves and have plenty of it prepared. So prepare enrichment. I can't say that enough. If you've always got a freezer full of frozen treats, then you're sorted. You just have a day where you can't cope or things are going really wrong, grab those from your fridge or freezer, chuck it with your dog, and you don't have to worry about them. So step 2 of phase 1, hopefully you're going to end up on maternity leave at some point and you're going to have a bit more time on your hands. And yes, you do have to prepare for your baby too, but it's also a good time to brush up on all your dog's basics. So you want to get those basic commands really strong. And there's lots of videos on that to teach you how to do that. So I'm not going to go into that today. Just look out for force-free videos. You want to teach it with kindness. You don't want to give your dog any anxiety issues, especially at this stage when he's about to have a big life change. The 3 things, and I've done a video on this before, that I find so useful is obviously your stay, your loose lead walking, and being able to send your dog away. So in times where you may make a mistake and you need to remove your dog from that situation quickly, just being able to use your voice is really essential. I found that's a lifesaver in certain situations. Baby's on the move, they're getting a bit close, I might not be able to get there quick enough. I can say to the dog, crate or bed, and off he goes, or she. Stay is really good, because sometimes when I'm getting out the door, I have a lot of stuff and I want to just bring my dog out last. So getting a really beautiful stay while I get myself out, get everything ready, then come on dog, and I can just take it from there. It's really helpful. And loose lead walking, massive bonus. If you've got the carrier or the pram, you just don't want your dog pulling you around. It's not helpful. So getting a lovely loose lead walk is really useful too. How's Step 3, you want to get your dog used to being behind barriers. So whatever you decide to do, whether you decide to use a crate, and if your dog's already crate trained, then perfect, that's really useful. But having baby gates, having a playpen that either your dog goes in or your baby goes in, your dog's going to at some point be behind a barrier. And that often surprises people how much that can sometimes distress a dog, even though you're right there. But it's just something they've never been used to. So they're saying, wow, the action's going on there, I can see it, I can't get to it, and they start to get frustrated. So you want to start getting your dog used to you being here, maybe even having guests and talking while they're behind a barrier. And again, your enrichment's going to come in great for this. I love snuffle mats because I think they're easy for the dog to get things out, and they're quite calming and they keep them busy. So start with smaller distractions, so perhaps you just reading a book on the other side of the gate while they have a snuffle mat, keep it short, and then start to build the distractions. So maybe you add another person, maybe you add you doing something exciting, perhaps you're playing with your dog's favorite toy and they're on the other side and they just have to learn a bit of impulse control, and then you can start work on them settling away from you behind that barrier. That's another thing that's really worth putting this effort in, because a lot of the time you're going to have to use that separation and it's really important. So getting your dog really comfortable behind that barrier is a top one. So step 4 of your preparation is getting your dog used to the sounds. And I got a baby doll when I was doing my prep work that you pressed and it made baby sounds. And also you can use those in another step I'm going to do, where you hold it and you give it attention, something that your dog's also got to get used to. But sounds that baby makes are weird and they change over time, so it's a good idea to use YouTube as well and just get your dog. You can have the sounds just playing in the background while your dog has their food, or you play with them, or they're just doing something nice, and you can slowly start to raise the volume of that sound, just like you would with fireworks or other things that your dog gets a bit sensitive to, or you just want to get them used to those household sounds. So really important, because it's those that can sometimes be the trigger. What is that? What is that noise? And there's going to be a lot of crying. So just having that in the background while you're prepping them will just make them less stressed once baby comes. Step 5. So this first phase is where you need to do your most preparation. So there's a lot of steps, but they are going to help you through all your phases, so it's worth it. So I mentioned it in the last one, it's giving attention to something. Sometimes that can be a trigger for the dog. What are they holding? I want to get to it. So start, you can use whatever you like, you can use nothing if you want, but I find it works best if you've got something like a cuddly toy. And you can start giving it attention, and you can start rewarding the behaviour that you like from the dog. So maybe your dog's not paying any attention, great, chuck it a treat. Maybe your dog's sitting patiently, great, chuck it a treat. If your dog is jumping at you and saying, what have you got, what's that? Then you're just going to tell them what you do want them to do. Maybe you want them to sit, maybe you want them to go and chill out in their bed. What commands do they already know? Do they know a down? Ask them for a down and reward that. Do they know a sit? Ask them for sit and reward that. And you're going to do that every time you get your teddy or whatever you're using and give it attention. Ah, cute, lovely. Dog, do your desired behaviour, reward it. Keep doing that over time. So eventually when you have the real thing and you got it and you're giving it attention, dog says, oh, I know what this means. This means I lie down and then I get rewarded for it. Or this means I go to my bed and I chill out and I get rewarded for that. Whether or not you can reward it at the time, your dog's likely to repeat that behaviour because he's been previously rewarded for it. And then when you can, just go chuck him a treat so that behaviour continues. Step 6. Go out with your dog and your pram, and without any baby, before you've had the baby, and look like a crazy lady because you're wheeling a pram and no baby. But you're doing work with your dog. So we talked about loose lead walking, perfect. Now we're just going to add the pram in there too. Sometimes dog can go, whoa, what's that? Or get a bit frightened of them, which makes sense. If I had some wheels going next to me, I'd probably be a bit scared too, especially knowing how clumsy I am. So you're just going to start to slowly introduce, and start slowly, start in the house, just moving the pram a little bit of a distance away until you build up to walking around the block with it. Don't overdo it where you're making the pram really, really high value, because that can sometimes cause a resource guarding where the dog says, this pram is really important to me. You're out on the street, and then he's going to say, nobody's coming near this pram, which looks cute because it looks like he's protecting the baby, but it can cause problems. So don't make the pram too high value, but just make the dog comfortable walking next to the pram and having the pram moving around. And the final one in this phase, well done. Thank you for not turning me off yet. So familiarize yourself with your dog's body language. All canine body language, yes, but specifically your dog's. So they learn our language, right? They learn sit, dinner, walkies. So it only makes sense to learn theirs, and it's gonna be your lifesaver when you've got baby around. So what does your specific dog do when they are relaxed? What does their tail look like? What does their body look like? What does their face look like? And what do they do when they look slightly uncomfortable, or when they look very uncomfortable? There might be a situation where you take your dog to the vets, they're not happy. Look at their mouth. What's their mouth doing? What are their eyebrows doing? What's their tail doing? Is it up, down? You know your dog, so really, really watch them. And here, putting a great dog body language book, and it's even great because it's perfect for kids too. So once you finish with it, you can pass it on to your little one, by Lily Chin. Lots of lovely pictures, and it's really, really useful. You are then going to know if you've got dog and baby together, you're going to see if your dog's starting to look a bit uncomfortable, and you're going to be able to step in before things escalate. Dog doesn't look completely happy. Okay, going to send him behind a barrier with a really nice chew, or I'm going to do something about this situation before it escalates. Phase 2, it's the birth and it's the newborn phase. And so first of all, you're in the hospital with the baby, someone's probably with your dog. If you can, it's not always possible, but if you can, get somebody to bring a blanket home that the baby's been wrapped in and take it home to your dog, just to get them used to the smell and maybe give them some treats with it. It's just, we know dogs use scent a lot, so this can be a great way just to pre-introduce them. So your next step is the actual introduction, and you're going to do that like you would do with like a new pet. You're going to do it slowly and you're going to do it safely. I know those videos and those pictures on Facebook and Instagram and social media get loads of likes when newborn baby is cuddling dog, but it makes trainers go, oh, and it makes us understand why dog bites in children are so high. It's not worth it. It just isn't worth it. It's like walking a dog off lead on a main road. You'll never forgive yourself if something happens because it could have been prevented. So just don't risk it. Don't force pictures. You will get them down the line and they will be really cute and they will be safely done. So it's a good idea to have 2 people. Someone has baby, and it's probably going to be someone your dog knows, and you can bring dog in, probably on lead, just in case that's your safety. I'm a trainer, I'm always overcautious, but it never hurts to be overcautious. And it's a good idea to have some nice stuff laid out for your dog on the floor away from you and the baby. This shows them that they can move away, and then they'll get nice things if they move away. So if they're not comfortable, they've got something nice to move away with. They don't get something nice with you where they're forced to stay near the thing that might be making them uncomfortable. They get it moving away. Watch out for any fearful behavior. You know your dog now. And watch out for any predatory behavior. Yes, it sounds horrible. Why would your dog be scared of their new baby brother or sister? And why would your dog be predatory towards them? It's just natural. Dogs are predatory animals, and it's possible that this squirmy, wiggly little thing that goes ee, makes squeaky sounds, could trigger that drive. And they're weird. It's a new, wiggling, moving creature. Can be scary. Can scare us sometimes. How did this thing get out of my stomach? How did the thing get in my stomach? Okay, we won't go there. But you just need to watch how your dog is. You might probably know how they're around babies in general because you've seen them around friends' babies, but it's always different with your own. So keep an eye on them, keep it safe, keep it positive, let them have a sniff, have that lead just as extra safety, call them away if you feel like it's getting too intense, And if you feel like they're not ready for that sniff, don't push it. Just bring them away, give them lots of treats, get them used to being behind that barrier again. When you've got two people, someone can be with the dog, someone's with the baby in the early stages. First introductions are going to last quite a long time, right? They're probably going to last 2 weeks. And you want to keep those very managed, and you want to keep them very safe. Try and always have a couple of you there if possible. And try and always have some treats nearby if possible, because you want to start to make that association really nice, but you're going to have your hands really full. I appreciate that. So use your barriers that you've got your dog used to. Use your crate if you need to, in times when you need to, when you can't cope, when you can't deal with them. But when you've got that little newborn sleeping on your chest and your dog decides they want to settle nearby, get your treats and just reward that calm behavior. Baby's there. When you're interacting with the baby, if you can, if you're changing them, treats, scatter with the dog. Also, just watch changing baby, because sometimes the smell of baby poo, yes, this is disgusting, sometimes the smell of baby poo can set a dog off, right? If you don't know this, you're lucky. Consider yourself lucky. But dogs love human poo. They like eating it, they like rolling in it, and if you've never had to wash it off your dog's coat, you are very lucky. And I know some of you will be saying, where are you getting this human poo? You would be surprised, there is lots of it in parks. In fact, my theory is not that we tamed wolves by giving them scraps, but we attracted them with other things. But that's a subject for a different day. So just be aware of that when changing your baby, that you want to change your baby up high, away from your dog, or perhaps even have your dog out of the room. It might not affect them, but if you see them being a bit affected, that's probably why. Phase 3 is your active phase. So your baby goes from this little slug-like creature that can't go anywhere to this crawling, moving thing that's on the go. And that's a phase that you've been preparing your dog for this whole time, with your barriers, with your calm behavior. So if you've done your job well and your baby loves your dog as much as you do, which I'm sure they do, guess where the first place they're crawling to is? Yes, dogs are exciting and they have wagging tails and they have lots of things they want to grab. So you can't teach a baby not to grab. And you must know by now they hurt. They probably pull your hair or they might pinch you. They don't know what they're doing yet. But you don't want them to do that to your dog. Because yes, dogs can be incredibly tolerant, but that's not fair to make your dog tolerant. We don't want them to have to tolerate that at all. We want them to love the baby, and we want them to be comfortable. So use your barriers. If your baby is on the move, you're either there 100% or your dog is behind the barrier. So lastly, with this phase, we need to talk about supervision. And there are different kinds of supervision. There's the supervision where you're doing the washing up and you're watching baby. That's not 100% supervision. So dogs behind the barrier. There's the times when you're sitting with your baby and you're watching them, but you're on your phone or you're watching your TV series. That's not 100%, dogs behind the barrier. And there's 100% supervision where all distractions are away and you are focused completely on baby. Then you can have dog there. And you want to make their interactions together really nice. So you can give them attention together. They can go for nice walks together. But keep in mind, you can't teach your baby yet not to grab. And they do. Even if they're like stroking nicely, you'll find them have a little grab. You don't want that little grab to damage that relationship that you spent so long building. It's probably a year in now, right? If your baby's walking and crawling, or at least 6 months. So you don't want to damage that. Keeping them separate. You can hold baby's hand, and I usually hold the pinchy bit, just so they can't be pinching, you can teach them to stroke gently, but keep an eye on your dog's body language. You know if they're comfortable or not. So if they're saying, oh yeah, this is nice, great, keep going, say to baby gently, lovely. If dog's lip licking, looking away, not comfortable, not ready for this yet. And always keep in mind that dogs don't always do the right thing. They want to be with us. And that might mean they don't want to be with the baby, but they want to be with us, so they put up with the baby. Or they just don't think to move away sometimes. So we sometimes have to remind them to, or we sometimes have to put them behind that barrier with something tasty. Make that decision for your dog. Don't let them tolerate things when they don't want to. Show them there is another option, because sometimes they forget. So well done. You are so well on your way to building an amazing relationship between your dog and your baby. It's an ongoing thing, you know, until your child is much, much older. Always supervise, always be there with them. Watch out for saying the dog is so tolerant of her or him. Don't make your dog tolerant. Make sure your dog isn't having to put up with anything, because that tends to be what eventually niggles them, and that's when they'll snap. You might think your dog will never snap. Every dog has that potential, and let's not find out if your dog will or won't. Build that relationship, lots of love and kindness. It's your job as a parent to make your child the best dog owner and the kindest dog owner, and to respect and love animals, which I know you will do, and make your dog comfortable and calm around your baby, so you can all be a happy family. And if you have any issues at all, don't leave it too late. Do contact a trainer, do ask for help. It will be worth it, I promise. And if you have any questions, please write them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck.
Go, 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 go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go.